Israeli intelligence and the weaponization of Hezbollah's communications network in the long shadow of the intelligence war between Israel and Hezbollah. Few operations have been as meticulously engineered as the infiltration and sabotage of Hezbollah's communications network. Israeli intelligence, known for its deep penetration of hostile networks, executed a targeted operation that not only exposed Hezbollah's vulnerabilities, but actively weaponized them against their own members, a move that demonstrates the profound strategic depth of Israeli espionage. The beeper sabotage, a calculated trap. Hezbollah, long aware of the risks posed by Israeli electronic warfare, had taken extreme caution in their communications. Their leadership, particularly Hassan Nasrallah, had been explicitly warned against the use of cellular devices due to Israeli tracking and interception capabilities. Ironically, the source of this warning, delivered by a high-ranking Hezbollah official, was Israeli intelligence itself, operating through embedded assets within the organization. It was a statistical certainty that if Israeli intelligence had the means to compromise Hezbollah's cellular communications, they would also possess the ability to manipulate who within Hezbollah received this information and how they would react to it. The reaction was predictable. Nasrallah and his closest inner circle sought an alternative form of communication. That alternative was a mass procurement of pagers, perceived as a safer method due to their simplistic, outdated technology and lack of constant connectivity. However, the very purchase of these devices had been anticipated and engineered by Israeli intelligence. With a network of assets deeply embedded within Hezbollah's logistical operations, Israel had both intercepted and manipulated the supply chain of these beepers before they ever reached their intended recipients. The insertion of military-grade explosives Israeli operatives, through a combination of covert seizures, black market intermediaries, and logistical infiltration, ensured that these shipments of beepers were compromised. The devices were surgically modified with military-grade explosives, small enough to be embedded in the hardware, yet powerful enough to kill anyone carrying the device upon remote detonation. Once inside Hezbollah's infrastructure, the beepers became time bombs disguised as communication tools. The result was an elegant, multi-layered strike, immediate tactical elimination. When activated, the beepers detonated, assassinating key field operatives and disrupting Hezbollah's chain of command. Psychological warfare. The explosions reinforced the perception that Israeli intelligence was omnipresent, capable of reaching deep within Hezbollah's most sensitive operations. Strategic deception. The compromised communication network led to paranoia within Hezbollah, resulting in internal purges and destabilization. Mossad's deep roots in Hezbollah's operations. Israeli intelligence, particularly Mossad, has spent decades cultivating assets within Hezbollah, not just for military intelligence, but for financial and logistical exploitation. The operation against the beepers was not an isolated incident, but a reflection of a broader Israeli strategy to turn Hezbollah's own infrastructure against itself while leveraging its global criminal enterprises for intelligence and operational leverage. Hezbollah's cartel connections and Israeli manipulation in recent years. Hezbollah has evolved into one of the largest drug cartels and human smuggling networks in Europe, with entrenched connections across South America and Mexico's drug cartels. This is not incidental. It is the result of strategic networking, often facilitated by Israeli intelligence operatives embedded within these criminal organizations. South American drug trade. Hezbollah's deep involvement in South America, particularly in Venezuela, Colombia, and Brazil, has been monitored, infiltrated, and occasionally facilitated by Israeli intelligence to track funding channels and operatives. Mexican cartel ties. Hezbollah's ability to smuggle narcotics and weapons into the U.S. through Mexican cartels has placed it in direct competition with, and, at times, collaboration with Israeli intelligence assets operating in the same underworld networks. The beeper operation was merely one demonstration of Israel's capacity to preempt Hezbollah's logistical decisions and weaponize them in advance. It is part of a broader strategy where Israeli intelligence does not simply react to Hezbollah's movements, but shapes and dictates them from within. Conclusion. Engineering the enemy's demise, the Israeli intelligence operation to compromise Hezbollah's communication networks with explosives-laden beepers was not just a tactical strike, but a psychological and strategic masterpiece. By feeding intelligence to Hezbollah's leadership, influencing their decision-making, and then sabotaging the very measures they took to protect themselves, Israel demonstrated a level of operational control that few intelligence agencies in history have achieved. Simultaneously, Mossad's entrenchment within Hezbollah's criminal enterprises has ensured that even beyond military engagements, Hezbollah remains vulnerable not just to Israeli firepower, but to Israeli influence in the very financial networks that sustain its operations. The beeper operation, in essence, is not an isolated act but a microcosm of how Israeli intelligence systematically manipulates Hezbollah from within, ensuring that every attempt to shield itself from Israeli penetration only serves to make it more vulnerable.